We have had an incredible mystery on our hands this week. The scholars in this room are part of the amazing ship, the Envisioner. While in the middle of a mighty search for ancient treasure, we were abandoned on an island, and a key part of our navigational map was stolen. Of the entire crew, we suspect 4 people. Today you will hear the evidence collected against these 4 suspects.
Dr. Smart has recently joined the crew and was very eager to join the crew. And Navigator Potter has been on the crew for 20 years and is an expert at reading maps and likes to keep to himself.
Shipmate Robert Neff has been with the crew for 5 years, keeps to himself, and is a very hard worker.
While on the Envisioneer, there were many While in the Envisioneer, there were many accidents such as broken bones, heart failure, snake bites, and collapsed lungs. Thankfully, our crew attended STEM camp, and we're trained to deal with situations like these. So sit back and listen to our story while we present our evidence.
There were a lot of broken bones on the island. Fortunately, they were all simple breaks. In STEM camp, we learned how to make slings and splints. We immobilized the break until we could get proper medical attention.
Dr. Smart suspected one of our crewmates had a collapsed lung. We made a lung model in STEM camp. The orange balloon represents a healthy lung. When the lung has a tear, air fills up the chest cavity, making it hard to breathe.
The yellow balloon is the diaphragm, and as we pull the diaphragm, the lungs get air.
3.
Hello, everybody. We were on the island during the incident, and some people got lost in the terrain. Though it was hard to search for them because some of the terrain was too rocky or bumpy to be able to traverse on. So luckily, we had a team of expert engineers with us to help us get across. We made robots and so on and so forth. We have this.
We had to use spare parts from the ship to make robots that could cross the terrain. Here are some parts that we started with. And in my hand is a scaled down version of our finished product.
I'm the one who helped program the robots to traverse the terrain that we cannot reach by ourselves. I have a little demonstration over here of some of the things that our robot was able to achieve. And over.
We ran into some problems with all the rocky terrain, so it was hard to propel the robot through. Therefore, we had our civil engineer, Sarah, build bridges for us.
Keep your mask on over your nose, guys.
Since we had rough terrains and everything, we had built a bridge out of spare parts of straws and pins and cardboard to keep it down. Here is an example of what we had shown.
Scene 4.
One of the crew members had a heart attack today. Dr. Smart was very upset, so he made us dissect cow hearts to show us how bad our eating habits really were. When we first opened it up, I thought I would be disgusted, but to my surprise, I actually found it very exciting. We were able to point out the vena cava and the pulmonary artery, and also all the other ones. We also saw very fatty tissue on the cow's heart. I'm sure this will make them change their eating ways.
While Neff Young was being led back to the ship by the robot, Young was bitten by a snake. Young is feeling a bit foggy, but claims to have been kidnapped by Neff. But Neff denies that he kidnapped Young. Dr. Smart believes Young may be suffering from mild delusions caused by a hemotoxic snake bite, which explains her fuzzy memory before we can treat her symptoms and determine the validity of Young's story and Dr. Smart's diagnosis. We need to determine what type of snake bit her and administer the appropriate antivenom. So hemotoxic snake bites and hemo means blood. So those are usually snake bites which cause organ damage, tissue damage, and blood damage. Neurotoxic snake bites, which means nerves, is neuro, which is usually paralysis, and usually happens in your nerves, and it causes your body to stay still, frozen, and dizziness.
These are the 4 snakes we found on the island. We found a red-tailed green rat snake. It's non-venomous, but it is strong enough to give you a strong, painful bite. A banded krait snake is neurotoxic but affects the nerves. The Malayan pit viper has a distinctive triangular head on a stocky body. It can reach 2.7 feet long. It's colorish reddish-brown and has a triangular marking on its sides. It's normally nocturnal, but likes to hang around in grassy and rocky areas. When it rattles, it's a meaning of them warning you before they strike. It can jump on you and makes you bleed and have tissue damage. Do not apply on the wound as it increases absorption by the venom. The king cobra is a neurotoxic which affects the nerves. The king cobra is the longest venomous snake in the world.
6.
Blood splatter analysis checks for DNA matches, patterns, and heights. In our case, we checked the heights from which blood fell from. Our experiments and matching actual blood splatters helped us determine that blood fell from 12 inches, 30 inches, and 66 inches.
When our missing crew returned, Young had a gash on her shin that fell from 12 inches. Neff had a cut on the side of his head which fell from 66 inches. And Dr. Smart had a bandage on his hand that fell from 30 inches. So in conclusion, they're all suspects.
Forensic.
We discovered a strange white powder covering the crime scene. As it did not harm human skin, we knew it had to have a neutral pH of 7. The only white powders in the kitchen with a pH of 7 were powdered sugar, cornstarch, and baking soda. After investigating, it was no surprise that the mystery powder was cornstarch, as cornstarch is often used to cover fingerprints in a crime scene.
Our criminals forgot to put baking soda on the doorknobs and doors, so we were able to find 4 different fingerprints. These were the 4 different fingerprints. We had arches, loops, and whorls.
With the prints at the scene of the crime, we did not have much to work with. We dusted the doorknob with cocoa powder. We then took the tape and put it on the doorknob everywhere, and then took it off, and then placed it on clean paper, and that's how we found our 4 suspects.